Adeziwa was born into a home where names carried weight and footsteps carried dignity. In her father's compound, elders spoke softly but firmly, and every child learned early that respect was not forced, it was lived. From dawn prayers to evening meals, Adeziwa watched her mother run the house with grace, strength, and quiet authority. She was not weak, but she was wise, not loud, but deeply rooted. When Daniel came from Kumasi to ask for her hand in marriage, the family had studied him carefully. Daniel was an IT engineer known in professional cycle for his sharp mind and discipline. He had built himself from nothing, earning promotion, respect, and a beautiful home in Spintex, Accra. Where the marriage rites were completed, the drums beat not just for love but for a union of values. Their early days in Accra felt like a blessing poured without measures. Adeziwa settled into her new home, learning the rhythm of Daniel's work schedules, preparing meals into the late night when he returned tired, and listening patiently as he spoke about surveys, deadlines, and systems she barely understood. Daniel, in return, treated her like gold, never raising his voice, never dismissing her thoughts. Neighbors admired them quietly, calling them the peaceful ones. In the evenings, they would sit on the balcony, across traffic humming below, dreaming of children and future. It felt solid, unbreakable, like a house built on stone. But even the strongest house can crack when strange winds enter through open doors. When Adeziwa secured a job at a private firm in Accra, Daniel celebrated her achievement like it was his own. He bought her new clothes, upgraded her phone, and encouraged her to shine. It was in that office that she met Amanda, a woman with sharp nails, louder laughter, and opinions that cut like blades. Amanda spoke boldly, confidently, always with a smirk that suggested no secrets others did not. During lunch break, whilst others talked about work, Amanda talked about marriage. She painted pictures of women who lost themselves in their home, calling them servants wrapped in wedding gowns. Adeziwa listened at first with curiosity, then with growing confusion. Amanda's words were sweet but dangerous, like a ripe fruit hidden poison. Slowly, those words followed Adeziwa home. The kitchen no longer felt warm. It felt like a battlefield. One evening, after cooking Daniel's favorite meal, she folded her arms and told him calmly that if she cooked, he must wash the plates. Daniel laughed, thinking it was a joke, until he saw her face, hard, unyielding. Another day, she mopped the floor and refused to rest until Daniel swept the compound. "We are equal," she said. "Everything is 50-50." Daniel tried reasoning with her, reminding her that partnership did not mean competitions, that love did not need calculations. But Adeziwa's ears were now turned to another drum, its rhythm drowned out the wisdom she once knew. What began as conversation soon turned into arguments, into shouting matches that echoed through the walls of Spencer's house. Daniel grew quiet, not because he had nothing to say, but because every word he spoke returned to him as an accusation. Adeziwa stood firm, quoting Amanda's ideas like scared laws. She refused to cook unless Daniel agreed to clean. She refused to wash unless Daniel agreed to scrub. Night grew cold, not from Harmattan rains, but from silence. The neighbors noticed Daniel's tired eyes, Adeziwa's hardened heart. The house that once breathed peace now held tension so thick it could be cut with a knife. Daniel did not rush to anger. Instead, he sought counsel as traditional demands. He called Adeziwa's mother, the family head, the respected elders from both families. They spoke to Adeziwa with patience and authority, reminding her of the values she was raised with, warning her that pride could destroy what love built. Adeziwa did not bend. Her answer was always the same. Everything is 50-50. To her, compromise felt like defeat. To Daniel, endurance felt like a slow death. Months passed, and each sunrise felt heavier than the last, until one evening, Daniel spoke the words that froze the air. "I want a divorce." The words felt like thunder, shaking everything Adeziwa had thought was unmovable. Terrified and confused, Adeziwa ran to the one person she trusted outside her home, Amanda. She arrived at Amanda's apartment with tears streaming down her face, voice trembling as she explained that Daniel wanted to divorce her. Amanda listened, not with sympathy, but with a strange hesitations. Her confident tone filtered, her laughter absent. When Adeziwa begged her for advice, the truth spilled out like a broken pot hitting the ground. The man, Amanda had always introduced as her husband was not her husband at all. He was a house help. The real husband had divorced her 3 years earlier after similar conflict. The stories of control and independence Amanda had preached was ashes from her burned marriage. The revelation hit Adeziwa harder than any slap. Her ears rang, her chest tightened, and suddenly every argument, every insult she had thrown at Daniel replayed in her mind like a curse. Amanda's life was not freedom. It was loneliness wrapped in pride. Adeziwa stumbled out of the apartment as rain began to fall, soaking her clothes as if the sky itself mourned her foolishness. She realized too late that she had traded wisdom for noise, tradition for trend, and love for ego. With trembling hands and a breaking heart, she turned back towards the Spinter's house, praying she had not destroyed everything beyond repair. Adeziwa entered the house quietly as if afraid it might reject her presence. Daniel was seated in the living room, divorce paper resting beside him like a silent witness. Without a word, Adeziwa dropped to her knees. She cried not softly, but deeply. The kind of cry that comes from the soul when pride finally dies. She confessed everything, the influence, the lies, the poison she had allowed into her heart. She begged, not as a wife demanding rights, but as a woman seeking mercy. Her forehead touched the floor, the same floor she once refused to clean without conditions. Daniel watched her in silence, his heart torn between pain and love. He remembered the woman he married, the gentle laughter, the patience, the warmth. He saw her now, stripped of arrogance, broken but sincere. Slowly, he lifted her from the ground. Forgiveness did not come easily, but love spoke louder than anger. He forgave her not because she was perfect, but because he believed in the promise they once made. That night, they prayed together, asked for healing, for wisdom, and for strength, and to rebuild what had been shaken. Change did not come as a miracle. It came as effort. Adeziwa cut ties with Amanda completely, blocking her number and walking away from friendship that nearly ruined her life. She returned to her home with a new understanding, not as a servant, but as a responsible wife who knew her role and honored it. She cooked without counting, cleaned without resentment, and spoke with respect. Daniel, seeing her transformation, softened too. He supported her emotionally, never using her past against her. Slowly, laughter returned to the house, and peace crept back into the corner that it once fled. Their homes became a lesson whispered among the neighbors and family members. Elders nodded approval when Adeziwa served Daniel with humility and strength, not weakness. Daniel, in return, provided, protected, and cherished her. They learned that marriage was not a battlefield of equality, but a partnership of purpose. Each carried different responsibility, but both carried love. The storm had tested them, but they stood stronger, wiser, and more united than before. As time passed, Adeziwa's story traveled beyond Spintex, told in quiet gathering and under moonlight courtyard. Mothers used it to warn their daughters, elders used it to teach patience, and men used it to understand forgiveness. Adeziwa herself became a voice of caution, speaking gently to younger women about the danger of following advice without wisdom. She spoke of balance, not division, of respect, not rebellion. Her one foolish journey became a living folktale, a reminder that not every loud voice carries truth. Daniel's career continued to grow, but more importantly, his home stood firm. The love they shared now carried scars, but these scars told a story of survival. Together, they understood that marriage was not 50-50 in choices, but 100% commitment from both hearts. When storms come again, as storms always do, they faced them side by side, not as rivals, but as partners bound by love and lesson. In the end, Adeziwa learned that 50-50 was never about splitting plates, flaws, or duties. It was about sharing patience, forgiveness, and responsibility in unequal moments. Sometimes one gives more, sometimes the other carries the weight, but love gives the balance. Her home became peaceful once more, not because rules were enforced, but because heart was aligned. The folk tale of Adeziwa 50-50 ended not in divorce, but in a wisdom and the hard way. And so, when the elders finished telling their story, they always ended with a warning wrapped in truth. Do not borrow eyes to see in your marriage, or you'll go blind in your own home. Adeziwa's life stood as proof that influence without discrimination is danger, and that true strength in marriage is knowing when to listen, when to stand, and when to kneel. Thank you for following up this story. Wait for another one. Comment, like, and subscribe. Thank you.